Hey guys, so this is take two. You wouldn't know that, but I know this. I filmed this video if you guys are ready. And my audio, it decided not to work because I am in my new space filming and I had a little mishap with my audio. So I refused to not get this video posted. So we are going to refilm this video because I really wanted to get this up for you guys. So I did a whole make up your mind on the NATASHA DENONA Love Palette, which is her Love Face palette that she's launching that already people have seen and a lot of people have already tried and yada, yada, yada. I decided to do a make up your mind on it first before buying it. So I kind of feel like it's been out there for a while already. So I kind of felt like torn between buying it or not, even though I do have my buying everything NATASHA DENONA where I'm buying everything from her for another year. I've been doing this series of buying her stuff for so many years that this launch kind of got me and kind of took me for a loop because when I kind of gave like the hint that this launch was coming out, it was a while ago. And then the launch didn't come for Valentine's and I was ready for it and it never came. And then all of a sudden it gets released early. Some influencers actually got their hands on it. People ordered it. People tried it. I didn't even see that it had launched and it was like a fake launch. It wasn't supposed to have launched. And then now it actually launches and I almost feel over it. So I said, you know what? I want to do a make up your mind because I've been staring at this palette for so long. I almost feel like I have it already. And yeah, I decided to check and see if I did. And I'm happy I've done this. I really am happy I did this. I'm happy I've done this. Why? Happy I did this. I'm happy I did this because I do feel like I have this palette. And I'm talking about the eyeshadow portion. The face palette portion, honestly, I just feel like within many palettes, I can come up with something similar. But I'm more concerned about the eyeshadows. And I am going to show you what I came up with and how I found this palette. If you are new to Make Up Your Mind, what I do is I search through my collection to mimic a color story of an eyeshadow palette that's going to launch. I'm not trying to find dupes. What I'm trying to do is see what the color story looks like in real time, kind of get an idea of what palettes I'm pulling the colors from to see if those are palettes I usually use, to see if I like the colors so that I can make a decision for myself whether I think it's worth adding this new palette to my collection. And then I usually tell you guys to try this yourself, see if you like the item before you decide to pick it up, and hopefully you don't waste your money on something that maybe you don't even use. So anyways, let's jump into it. So the palettes that I used for this Make Up Your Mind were the Rose Quartz from Huda Beauty. I got one color from there. Most of the colors are coming out of Celestial, Divinity from Mcgrath. I also used one color from Natasha Denona's Mini Love, and the final one was Celestial Nirvana gave me one color. So really, guys, I feel like Celestial Divinity was the one that kind of took the cake and took most of the colors. But let me show you guys how I did so you guys can get an idea. So if you can tell, I do feel like I have this similar color story. It's not identical, but I feel like it's pretty damn close that on the lids, if I did something similar with these colors, I would see what the palette looks like. And I do feel like it looks like Celestial Divinity. So for the first color, Celestial Divinity, I jumped into this color right here. So this color, it reminds me a lot of the color in the new palette. Now I do think this one might be a little bit more plummy, whereas the new palette might go a little bit more on the pink side. But I do think it's gonna give me like a very similar idea. And like this is as pink as I want to go. I don't wanna get any more pink than this. And I jumped into this color right above, and this is a really pretty champagne-y looking metallic. And I really like this color too. It has a little gold in it, it has a little champagne in it. I really think that Celestial Divinity was such a good palette that when I started pulling a lot of colors from here, that's when I was kind of like, I don't know, do I want this? The next one I grabbed was this one. So this is also from Celestial Divinity. I feel like maybe Natasha Denona's palette might be a little bit more on the pink side. Maybe, right? I don't know. I'm not sure. Because in the like promo pictures, it looks a little bit more plum. I'm not sure if this one's gonna be more pink, but I'll be honest. If it's any more pink than this, I won't like it because I don't really like fuchsia-y pinks on the eyes. This is like as pink as I'll go, and this is even more of like a purple. So I don't know. If it's more pink than this, I'm gonna hate it. but if it's this color, it would probably be really nice and a good deepening shade as well. The next one was this one from Huda Beauty. I grabbed this color called Cherish. Now I think that this one, Cherish, why can't I say that? Cherish. And I grabbed this one. Now I think this one's a little bit too pink. So what I did was I grabbed this one right here, and it's kind of like a more of like a pink color. So I just kind of like dabbed it on top and then blended them together to kind of come up with like a softer pinky pink, you know, not like a baby pink, but a softer pinky pink. And that's what I did. So I like that color. It's typically not a color that I would use that often. So it's like, whatever. Like I hardly ever use it in the rose quartz. So, I don't know. So then I grabbed this one from the Mini Love, which is the deep plum color. I do feel like Natasha puts this like deep plum color in a lot of palettes. I love this deep plum. It's probably my favorite color in this whole thing because I just love the way that that looks as a deepening shade, outer edge shade. It just does so much to the eye, and I love it in this palette. I actually really like this palette. So it is a really pretty shade. I do feel like I see it a lot done by a lot of brands, so it's not like something that I feel like is so unique. The next one I actually got back into Divinity, and I grabbed into this color here, and it's like a purple that has like a shift to like a brownish taupish color. I feel like that's what she did in this new palette. Let me know if I'm wrong with that, but that's what it looked like online, and really pretty. Like I said, it's in Divinity, or like something really similar to me is in Divinity, and I really need to use my Divinity. So I'm feeling like a lot of the colors I grabbed from there, so that's what's making me like a little with the palette. Then finally, the last color, I went into Nirvana, and I got this one, which is a really nice cool tone. It's like a taupe, has a little bit of like a purple lean to it. Really nice blending shade for the rest of the shades here. So here's the thing. Basically, overall, I love the color story of this palette. I think it's really nice. If it's similar to this, I really like it. If it leans more pink than this, then I won't like it. Like it's like a borderline there, right? But my problem that I have is that this kind of color story I've purchased so many times because I really like this color story, and I have it in like some of my favorite brands. Like, yes, Natasha is my favorite brand too, but I do love Miss Pat McGrath, and I feel like this palette right here has most of this in it. It has most of it, you know? And I do love the idea of adding this like taupey color. I think that does change up the perspective. It changes up the looks. But I do feel like I'm gonna create something similar with this, you know? So like this palette that I just bought recently, the Rose Quartz, it's gonna give me a similar vibe, you know? And then also this one here is gonna give me a similar vibe. And then, you know, this one here is gonna give me a similar vibe. So as I'm looking at this, I'm going, I don't know, this is a $65 face palette. I really like the format of these, and it's gonna be similar to this. But I will tell you, like, even this palette, I've been forcing myself to use it more because I tend to not grab it for some reason. And I don't know what it is because it's such a good travel palette. But then in a way, it's not because I always forget to take it, you know, traveling. So I don't know if this arrangement with the pinks and these type of colors is something that I would actually want to have in this kind of face palette idea. So after looking at the colors, finding them in my collection, seeing the story, and like really looking at what palettes most of the colors are coming out of, I have to make up my mind and say, I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to skip this one for multiple reasons. First off, because it didn't launch when I thought it was going to launch. Then when it did launch, it wasn't really a launch and things got confused. It was already out there. People have already seen the reviews on it. And then I decided to do a make up your mind because I've seen it so many times and it looks like a palette I've seen before. And then also like the face portion is just not, it's not wowing me, and it doesn't seem like something I really would take as a travel palette. And that's primarily what I see this palette good for, at least for me. So I'm gonna make up my mind and say I'm not getting it. And I know I have the whole Natasha Denona buying everything for a year thing, but you know, I just feel like with me doing this series and with, you know, the idea of not spending money on like useless things, gotta put my foot down on this one and say like, this one just seems useless to me. Like for me, it's useless. So I'm excited to see what else Natasha Denona launches this year. And hopefully there's some stuff that is going to wow me and also stuff that is not going to launch too early and all of this craziness happens again. So anyways, that is where I'm gonna leave it. Let me know down below if you picked it up, because a lot of you guys probably already have picked it up, and if you liked it. I will say that unfortunately, because it launched early, it was very difficult for me to be not hear about the reviews. I even had people DMing me what they thought of it, and I know that it's been patchy and that people were having some issues, and I mean, I think it's been off and on. Some people really didn't like the consistency, some people like it, and I feel like I'm kind of tainted now even for a review, because I know so much about it because people keep DMing me. So I want to know from you guys. Why don't you help your friends down below in the comments section and let us know what are your thoughts on this launch. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one.